Love music. Live sport. Talking football with Bill Young and Gerry Collins on RockSport Radio.
Okay, it's Thursday, talking football across central Scotland on DAB, digital radio, online at rocksportradio.co.uk, and via your smartphone. You can listen using the Radiogram or the TuneIn app. You can also watch the programme as we stream video live every night, Monday to Friday between 6 and 8. And you can watch it on Periscope, Twitter and on Facebook. Now, we've got a really busy programme tonight. Hibs are playing, obviously. Mulder at Easter Road. Rangers at home to Maribor. And last night, Celtic were at home to AEK. I don't like saying Ike, but it's easier than saying AEK, Athens. So I know Ike's easier, isn't it, Gerry? Gerry Collins in the studio with me tonight. You were at the game last night.
Yes.
Give us your views on it, because it's a difficult ask now, having lost that important away goal against Celtic.
You're right. I think I said before the game that Celtic had to win the game to stand a good chance. For 40 minutes, Bill, Celtic were cruising. Celtic were playing really, really well. Attacked them down both flanks, got a lot of joy out of it, albeit one goal to show for it. But in 42 minutes, again, what happened on Saturday against Livingston happened last night again. A lapse of concentration by defenders, and they get the goal. And they came out the second half, the fire in the belly wasn't there for me anyway. It was a totally different team in the second half. For me, the goal knocked the wind out of Celtic. They had all the possession, but when they get the man set off, Athens, they had two banks of four, and Celtic couldn't penetrate them. As much as they tried going down the flanks, they brought on Sinclair, and Forrest was, who'd done well in the first half, Forrest. Both players attacking down the flanks, but just couldn't penetrate Athens. So they've really got it all to do now.
I was listening to the game, Gerry, because obviously I was driving home after the show, and it did seem as if Celtic were fairly well in control in the first half. But I heard Pat Bonner say that in the second half, and I was listening to that he felt that Celtic just couldn't get the pace back in the game again.
I think that the goal knocked the wind out of them, definitely. I mean, Celtic were on top by a country mile for 40 minutes. And again, it's concentration. But I was reading before that the Athens manager identified Celtic's defence as the weakest part of the team. By God, he was right.
I don't think you have to be a brain surgeon to do that, bearing in mind we've all been saying it for the last season. Really. I mean, they weren't good last season. Coming to the end of the season, particularly, we were all questioning the line-up at the back four. You've got Jack Henry, you've got Christopher Ayer, who are very good players potentially, but very, very young and inexperienced. Is it that inexperience at that level that's causing these lapses of concentration?
I think so. I think most fans at Parkhead last night were wondering why Celtic hadn't signed a defender. I mean, if you look at Jack Henry, who played with Dundee, and young Chris Ayer played with Kilmarnock, these two young guys are now pivotal in the Celtic defence in the Champions League. It's not ideal. Boyata unavailable. The other boy, well, he was available right enough. What was the other boy's name? Simonovic. But again, they're two more experienced players than the two younger ones, but he elected to go with the younger ones, which is surprising to say the least.
I'm going to tell you, obviously, because you know about the thing we were talking about, the tweet I posted the other day about there being a bit of a potential for a power struggle at Celtic Park. Brendan Rodgers today asked if Celtic were meeting his expectations in terms of transfers. He said, "I'd rather not comment. It's a private matter." All seems, this whole thing about transfers now does seem to be becoming a bit sour, doesn't it?
It sure does. I mean, Brendan Rodgers must know the weakest part of his team, and it beggars belief why he's not strengthened that. He keeps wanting to sign attack-minded players. They brought another wide player in from Australia. You know, you've got James Forrest, you've got Sinclair, you've got Johnny Hayes, you've got young Mikey Johnson. You've had another wide player, an attack-minded player, and most Celtic fans would tell you that you have to address the back four. and I don't know why they haven't done
Well,
that.
I've got to be honest with you, most Celtic fans the other day, when I mentioned this thing about transfers, felt that, and obviously it's not a scientific representation, but they were all saying, we're still far enough ahead of Rangers and that's all we need to be and all the rest of it to sign. We don't need to sign people yet. There is no dispute between the board and with Brendan and all the rest of it, and we're all happy there's been no signings. Now, after last night, where, you know, it's going to be a hard ask going to Greece, you know that.
Oh, of course it is.
Let me ask you this, were they all singing that song last night, or were they all now starting to say, we need these players and we need the board to back him and get them in before we move people out?
See, to be fair, the fans were great last night. The fans kept singing from start to finish. There's no, you can't say we need the backing for the fans. They were there from the first minute to the last minute, backing the team, but they just couldn't go and penetrate the defence.
But what was the talk amongst the fans in terms of this thing with the transfers and things?
The talk is that they're mystified why they hasn't brought a defender in. Now, I've said before, somebody like John Terry, who's a free agent at 37 years of age, a Champions League winner, coming into a Celtic team with two young defenders. If Brendan wants to play Ayer and Jack Henry in the heart of defence, then he's got to pick one to play. If it was me, to play with John Terry, to bring them on. But they seem to go down a different road. They seem to want to promote youth all the time. And for me, the back four last night, for me, Tierney was by far the best player. Lustig has had 7 great years at Celtic, and for me, he's past his sell-by date. And most fans would agree with that. I don't know why the Celtic management don't. So.
Let me ask you another question. I'm not sure if it's right or not, but I thought I picked up on commentary last night on the BBC that they were saying that Athens hadn't started their season yet.
That's their first competitive game, Bill, and they were absolutely superb. Unbelievable. And the thing is, well,
but you would hope that Celtic, who are playing a team who are playing competitively for the first time, would be able to cash in, having played now a league game, some pre-season friendlies, and of course qualifiers.
Well, you would think that's the case, but that's the first competitive game. They identified that they're a team that play on the counter, and the warning signs were there 5 minutes before they got the goal. The same ball, a long ball played into the heart of Celtic defence, caught them napping, and the goalkeeper Gordon did very well to avert the danger. 5 minutes later they played the same ball, and the kid that got the ball and whipped the ball across showed great determination, because everybody thought the ball was going out anyway, but he showed great determination. Had Lustig showed the same determination to stop the cross as the boy did to put the cross in, then it's a different game. But that's where Celtic falter. I mean, they lost a goal on Saturday in the 92nd minute against Livingston, a lapse of concentration. And if you lose goals against a team that's going to finish in the bottom four in the SPL, then against good teams like Athens, your concentration level must be high, and it wasn't.
Jerry, let me ask you, I mean, have they burst the bank with Edouard in terms of the model that Celtic work to? And therefore, is that why they're having to bring in younger players like the Australian on loan and things like that, rather than going into the marketplace and looking, because defenders are costing money these days?
I don't know if they burst the bank, Bill, because they sold Savchenko. And
they sold Armstrong as
Armstrong
well, and got the same amount of money almost.
So the money going out.
So why isn't he spending money on defenders, bringing in midfielders, and going out and spending a bit of money to shore up that defence?
Well, I'm reading between the lines here, and if you believe what you read, that Brendan has identified players to the Celtic board. They players that he mentioned, we don't know. So if Celtic have not followed up on the players that he's recommended, now, for all we know, Brendan Rodgers might have recommended 2 centre halves. We don't know. But if somebody comes out and tells us why they don't buy defenders, then we'll all be much wiser. But up until that time, we don't know.
Have a stab. I mean, why do you think? I mean, they can see Rangers strengthening, and you know, I can understand that Celtic fans will question the quality that Rangers are bringing in. But you look at them against Aberdeen, and you look at them thus far in the Europa League qualifiers. They've been very tidy. They've worked very, very hard. They've got a new fitness level. They're certainly playing for the jersey and the manager now. So a lot of it will come down to that commitment and siege mentality, as Steven Gerrard has called it, that he wants Today he mentioned that. You know, Celtic surely can't afford to just take it for granted that they've got that gap there. Because if you look at last season, and it wasn't that Rangers were particularly great, Celtic did drop points last season.
Yep.
But if you've got the same problem as last season, why would you think the outcome's going to be different? They're going to drop points this season, presumably.
The fact of life is, Celtic is weaker this year than they were last year. There's no question about that. Rangers were poor last year, but the new manager came in, identified, and what he did, he's got a completely new back four. He's got the Flanagan, he's got Golston, Katic, and now he's signed Barasic. So what he's did, he's identified, we'll get 4 decent defenders. They maybe know the quality that Celtic think that they would get, but the quality that Rangers have got, these 4 defenders will blend together.
But those 4 defenders, if you look at them man for man, are as good as what Celtic have got, bar Kieran Tierney. But you would then argue Kieran Tierney, Barasic. Is there a kind of a slight deviation there?
I would think that Kieran Tierney, I would say he's probably the best left back that Celtic have had for a long time, and there's no many guys in Scotland.
But would you say Goldson was better than Henry?
I've seen Golston in one game.
Or better than Ayer? Would you say Katic was better than Henry?
Well,
would you say Flanagan will do a better job for Rangers than Lustig?
Well, I get shot down in flames with my family, Bill, because I thought that Taverner was a better right back than Lustig. And Taverner is not a good defender. But I thought what he offered you, if you play for a Rangers or a Celtic, you're asked to defend for maybe half a dozen games a season in the domestic game.
Yeah.
You're asked to go and maybe defend in Europe. But for me, Taverner was a better player than Lustig. On his day was a good player, but
his day's gone, you're saying?
He's 7 years at the club. I believe his legs have gone, and maybe did go full pelt to try and shut the boy down. If he did, surely that should tell everybody he's not got the legs to carry him up and down the park, and it's time to replace him. And the fact that Gamboa was there, he probably doesn't trust Gamboa. Gamboa played against Rosenborg. He doesn't trust him. Had he trusted Gamboa, surely he'd have played him last night.
So you're saying that you feel Celtic are weaker this season than they were
Celtic
last
are much
season?
weaker.
What about Edouard? Because he was £9 million, blaze of glory, scored a couple of cracking goals, did extremely well in the first tie. How was he last night?
Absolutely shocking.
Really?
Shocking. Albeit he never got a lot of service. Celtic play from side to side, keep possession. But as I'm telling you, Bill, they had 2 banks of 4. And Edouard, for me, he kept coming, wanted to come deep, take a touch, a light off to a wide player, get in the box. Kieran Tierney put 3 balls across the box in the first half, between the 6-yard line and the goal line, and they shoot right across the face of the goal. There was nobody there to put the ball in the net. Now, I think you're looking for your striker to be in there. Forget the build-up. Let the wide players do the build-up. You be the guy on the end of it in the box. But for me, Edouard last night was an empty jersey.
Jerry, when you've paid that kind of money for a striker, Edouard,
yep.
Dembele apparently, from if you read, you believe the reports, is now the subject of 2 or 3 teams looking at him. The latest being Lazio, apparently. How true that is, or how much of it's paper talk, we'll wait and see. But even at that, if you're paying that kind of money for a striker like Edouard, the last thing that you want to be seen to be doing is proving yourself wrong and spending it by sitting him on the bench. So you've got to imagine that Brendan Rodgers is going to stick with him.
Of course he's going to stick with him, but who would he play if Dembele's fit? Will he back and play 2 up? I don't know. He's got 1 for 3 into it. So you've got Griffith, Dembele and Edouard. And the way they play the game.
But Edouard still has to play. I mean, he still has to play well. And if in a game like last night you're saying he went missing in action, then you just don't know, do you?
His hold-up play last night for me was terrible. Edouard had a poor game. If Edouard hadn't been signed by Celtic and that was a game deciding whether you signed him or not, I think most fans would have said no, you wouldn't sign him. But he had an off night, that's all you can say.
Alright, just going back to the whole Tavernier thing a wee bit, and we'll talk about Rangers later on with Tom Miller and with Nathan Oduwa about the game tonight and about other bits and pieces that have been happening with Rangers today. But let's stick with Celtic. But going back to what you said about Lustig, here's quite an interesting point that's been tweeted in. Tavernier, Tav's defence skills need to improve, but there's no other right back that had more assists and goals last season, which makes up for it. Would you agree?
Definitely. But then you go back to the question is, if you want 4 defenders, Rangers have got now, irrespective of what the Celtic fans think of the quality of the defenders, Rangers have now shored up the defence. They've got, in their opinion, 4 good defenders. Celtic haven't identified that for me. The team is weaker. Paddy Roberts is not there. He's gone. The team is weaker for last year, and they've not improved in areas that most fans thought they should have improved. Now, I don't know if it goes back to the board think, well, you've got Boyata, you've got Simonovic, you've got Henry, you've got Aya. You've got 4 centre-halves there where you can only play 2. Why do we want another one? And the simple answer is, because the ones you've got are not good enough for Champions League. Maybe good enough for SPL, but definitely Champions League, no.
Okay. So going now a week forward with Celtic travelling over to Athens, where of course there's the usual argument about the heat and stuff like that, but more importantly AEK Athens have got that away goal.
Yes.
And we've said, and we did say, that if Celtic were going to go through, or anybody's going to go through, it applies to Rangers and Hibs tonight, you're going to want to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah.
It is a dodgy one for Celtic, isn't it?
For goodness
because
sake.
Apparently the strongest part of this team last night was their defence.
Yeah, and that their best player wasn't playing, who's available next round. But I think in any European game, you've got to win your home games, and then whatever comes away from home is fine. Celtic last night, for 40 minutes, were great. Everything was going well. Bang. Lapse of concentration and you lose a goal. And I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers must have told him after Saturday, in the 92nd minute, you lost a goal against Livingston for a free kick that everybody switched off, and you can't switch off against decent European teams. They did, and they paid the penalty.
So are you more convinced than ever about your prediction?
That they won't go through?
That they won't get to the group stages of the Champions League?
I thought it was a tall order to play 4 qualifiers to get to the group stages. And having seen Athens, I think it's a real tall order. Celtic would need to play the best away game that they had in the European football to beat Athens, in my opinion. All right,
mate. We'll come back, we'll talk more football, and we'll move on to Hibs next, as we're talking football across Central Scotland on DAB, from RockSport Radio, online at rocksportradio.co.uk via your smartphone, using the TuneIn app or the Radiogram app. You can also watch the programme every night, Monday to Friday, as we stream live on Facebook, Periscope, and of course Twitter.
Love music, live sport, talking football with Bill Young and Gerry Collins on RockSport Radio.
Okay, very quickly before we go to our first guest to talk about the Hibs game tonight, got another tweet in, Gerry, just to see what you think. Thoughts are very quickly. Do you guys think that players that came in last season and kept were hoping for the dream move down south, and because it's not happened, the bubbles burst a wee bit? This is with Celtic.
No, I don't think the bubbles burst. I think it takes time. What I said to you before, Bill, about progressive analysis, teams don't just buy in a whim because you've had a good season. Celtic won the double treble, we'll go and buy him. It doesn't work that way. I think teams that spend a lot of money will do their homework on Celtic, on the players that they're going to buy, how many goals they scored in the past 3-4 years, temperament, personality, all that comes into it. So it might take another season for guys like Dembele to move on again, but they do their homework and it's all done overnight.
Okay, let's bring in our first guest. He was on with us a wee while ago. It's good to have him back. Ian Murray, former Hibs captain and current assistant manager Asker in Norway, to talk to us a wee bit about Molde. Was doing a bit of scouting for Molde for Hibs the weekend. And what did you come up with, Ian?
Good evening, guys. Well, I was a late call-up, I think. I think something had went wrong with Hibs' transport over here, so they gave me a ring, and luckily they were playing in Oslo at the time. It was only 15 minutes away, so I got along to the game. Nothing too surprising from Molde, to be honest. I've seen them last season. They play a pretty rigid 4-3-3, quick in the counter-attack, like to try and use wide areas to good effect. But I came away from the game thinking Hibs had a real opportunity. I think losing John McGinn's a huge blow, of course, and obviously if the goalkeeper's not going to make it, and maybe Darren McGregor, then it changes the dynamics of the game a little bit, I think.
Well, how big a loss exactly do you think John McGinn is to Hibs now, Ian?
I mean, there's no question. I don't think you can replace him, to be honest with you. Not on the money that Hibs have. You have to go and look down the leagues again and try and find a bargain, which is difficult. I think, obviously out of Hibs midfield last season, there's only the Lithuanian boy, Les Fielker. They've lost Allen, who's went back to Celtic. McGeoch went down to Sunderland. McGinn's went to Aston Villa. I just think out of those three, all three very good players, I just felt McGinn out of the three of them had that a little bit more than the other two in terms of, I'm not saying he was as technical as the other two, but he had that drive and desire, and he had that sort of very hard knack to find out. He actually drag Hibs through games sometimes, just when they looked like they might be wavering a little bit. He was the one that would suddenly just get hold of the ball and drive at the opposition, which, it's a very difficult thing to find now.
I mean, one of the things that's impressed everybody in the last season is the speed and the pace, the tempo that Hibs have played at, and it all starts from that midfield area with as you say, when they had Scott Allen there, Dylan McGeoch, you had John McGinn. It's slightly changed now. They brought Stevie Mallon in, different type of player, but they brought in Emerson Heinemann as well. Now, that's a good signing for Hibs on loan, but he's a totally different type of player from John McGinn. Do you think that kind of changes the dynamic in terms of those kind of pushy, pacey runs from the midfield that kind of stifle defences in the opposing midfield?
Yeah, as I said, I don't think you're ever going to get a light-for-light replacement for John, that's for sure. Obviously, bringing in the two lone guys, I think they've got another one as well from Man City, which nobody's really seen much of, so it's hard to gauge them. But what I would say is that what I've seen, I was at the first leg against the Greek side at Easter Road, and sometimes you look at the Hibs squad, and no disrespect to them, some of the players there, Neil Lennon's got them playing at their skin, to be perfectly honest. The job that he's doing there by getting these guys up to that level is just remarkable. And prime example is David Gray, who looked like he was probably on his last legs at Hibs. He looked like he might have been out of favour a little bit. He's come back in and he hauled Hibs back into the tie against the Greek side by equalising. He had a great game at the weekend against Motherwell. So Neil Lennon is doing something to get the best out of his players. So, I think it's now getting to the stage where his fans and the board are starting to really trust Neil and what he's doing. And, if Neil Lennon likes him, then they're going, that's fine. He's done so well for Hibs so far. But the worry is there's only so many times you can go to the well. It runs dry eventually. So to replace John, I think it's going to be tough. Not impossible, but as far as it goes, the last couple of seasons, he's definitely been Hibs' main player.
Ian, guys like Scott Allen, would Scott Allen go back into, if it was possible that Hibs would take him, would he fit back into the Hibs team right now, Scott Allen?
I think so. I think you always have to try and find a place for a guy like Scott Allen. Defensively you might not get great quality all the time, but that's when you obviously have your sitter in there. Stevie Mallon's the same. He's more an offensive player, so you can probably get away with two of them. I think, John was really good because he'd done both jobs. He was up the park, he was down the park, he got hold of the ball, he tackled, he scored goals, he hit shots, he'd done everything. But I think there's always a place for guys like Mallon and Allen. In any midfield, the way Hibs play, especially at home. And one thing I say about Neil Lennon is he doesn't accept people not doing a certain job. If he won't do the job for him, he just won't play. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I used to watch the Scott Allen playing at Celtic, and I thought he did very well. And I was really surprised that he was never given a longer extended run in the team. But if he went to Hibs and loan, and I watch him, and sometimes you think that this club's fits the bill for this player. And for me, Scott Allen was a Hibs type player, just on the ball with people running about him that could go and do the tackling, and he could do because he's a great passer of the ball. I like Scott Allen as a player, and I'm surprised he never made it at Celtic.
Yeah, I think, it was a funny one when he left Hibs. Obviously, there was a lot of talk at the time of Rangers. I think he pushed, to the Hibs fans, he pushed to move through, and it was kind of unforgivable to a certain extent. But like anything else, he came back, and there was always going to have doubters and people who didn't want him back. But once you see him with the ball, and he's putting passes about, and he's spraying, he's dictating tempos of games, fans soon forget about what happened a year before. I think, I'll be honest, I think I'll be very surprised if Scott Allen's not back at Hibs come the transfer window closing, just for the fact that, like you just said there, Brendan Rodgers said it last season, Hibs and Scott Allen are a perfect fit. Now, if that's not a glaring signal that you're not going to play for Celtic, then I don't know what is, to be truthfully honest.
Ian, let me ask you a wee bit about Molde again. You said they're very quick on the counter-attack, but what's the general style of play? I mean, are they one of these teams that build from the back? Do they go route one? Do they use the channels? Where are their strengths? Where are their weaknesses as you see them?
Well, I think even though they're a counter-attacking team, they're obviously looking to get the ball wide. The two wingers, as I say, they're very quick. They've got a striker up front in Haaland, who's reportedly got every club in the world after him, and he's only 18 years old, but he doesn't play like an 18-year-old. To be honest, I didn't know his age before the game, and when somebody told me he was 18, I was actually gobsmacked, if I'm being truthful.
Do you go back and say to Kevin, can we sign him?
Yeah, we wish. So he's, I believe Mulder accepted a bid. I think Solskjaer said it yesterday. They've accepted a bid and they're discussing personal terms, but I don't know who the club is. I think it might be Salzburg. That's a rumour over here anyway. But I think they can definitely be got at defensively. I think their centre halves are maybe a wee bit rash and a wee bit blasé with the ball, so they can give it away cheaply. But certainly, if you give them time, and Hibs play too high up the park, they will certainly hit in the counter because they'll make the pitch as big as they possibly can. And if you leave them one-on-one, the wingers will drive at you. This is as simple as that. That's the way they play, and they'll do that if they're winning 2-0 or losing 2-0. They'll keep their shape.
Will an environment like Easter Road suit them, or are they better at home?
I think, it's one of these ones, you don't know what's going to happen, but I think if Mulder click on such a big pitch as Easter Road is, they could really do some damage. I just don't think Hibs will be as naive as to let them do that. Certainly, the wingers are going to look at Easter Road and absolutely love it because they love to hug the touchline. That's what they want. They want as much space as possible. It's up to Hibs obviously to stop the supply to these boys. If they don't stop the source, then they're going to be in big trouble because I think they have got decent players up front. But I think if Hibs can get hold of the ball, dictate it, be a little bit more cute in their play than they were against the Greeks in the first leg, and Hibs have got every chance progressing. And I think it's at the moment it's a 50-50. I really believe Hibs have got a really good opportunity here.
How important do you think it is, and how easy will it be for Lenny to get their heads right after a big player like John McGinn's going before literally the day before a tie like this?
Yeah, I think the players will be too surprised by the move. Players talk in the changing room, and John's probably known for a while. I think the biggest problem is that the English window's obviously been cut, and it's came the day before or the day of the game. Hibs would have loved it to have been 2 weeks later because they might have said to Aston Villa, "Look, let's do a deal in principle, but let us try and get through this European sort of tie." But it just so has that the deadline has fallen. I mean, I'm sure Aston Villa weren't the only team in for John and Celtic. I'm sure there was probably more. You've got to think if Aston Villa and Celtic are in for you, then there's going to be other guys in for you. So there'll be no surprise to the players. No disrespect again. Johnny done a fantastic job for Hibs, and he's moved on, and that's what has happened. Now he's moved on, so Hibs have to move on. And Gerry will tell you the same in football. There's always someone waiting to fill someone's boots as a new hero around the corner.
Correct. Ian, what about your own situation with Asker? Are you playing or are you just coaching?
No. Those days are definitely gone. I joined in quite a lot of training just for numbers, but it's manor ball time for me at the moment, so I have to just coach and help Kevin out. He's doing a good job, and we have our mid-season break, so we start our second half of our season, if you like, on the weekend. So we're looking forward to trying to get a few wins on the board and hopefully trying to nick that top spot coming into the season.
How do you compare the standard to that division to Scotland? Which division do you think?
It's really tough, to be honest. We're like every other team. On our day we can look terrible, and on our other day we look great. So at times I've looked at games and thought, Jesus, this is kind of League 2 Scotland. Other times I've looked and I'm like, God, this is a good championship game in Scotland. I still think we're a wee bit off the SPL. We're better at some things and we're not as good at others. So if I had to gauge it, I'd probably say we're probably top end League 1. But as I said, like every other team, we can have our days where we look like we've never seen a football.
Still enjoying it in Norway, Ian?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously the winters are hard. That's when we have our sort of off-season and pre-season. The pre-season's very long, like I've told before. We obviously play summer football, which is fantastic because the weather this year over here has just been incredible. So we've all enjoyed a good summer and enjoyed the weather, but now we're ready to kick on in the league. And as I say, we take our break over Christmas, which is really nice for myself, so I get home for 5 or 6 weeks without anything, which is unusual, obviously, in the UK. Is
there any advantage to Mulder, the fact that you've started your season earlier and you're now a kind of mid-season break here, in terms of competitive fitness against Hibs, who have played obviously qualifiers, pre-season friendlies?
Well, Mulder, I mean, again, they had a month off as well over the World Cup period, so they've not played too many competitive games in the last sort of 6 weeks. The only thing I would say is, I think when you play the Scandinavian teams at any time of the year, it doesn't really matter because they keep themselves incredibly fit. They keep themselves in great shape. And the pre-season friendlies over here aren't what you would call pre-season friendlies back home. There's no let up. There's no 10 subs at a time. It's a proper game. They stick to their tactics. They take it very seriously. So I don't think it's a huge advantage for Hibs on that sense of it. And certainly Molde will not use that as an excuse. And I'm sure Hibs won't use that excuse as well.
Ian, the one thing that surprised me with it when teams come to Scotland to play European games, I was at Parkhead last night, and Athens, that was their first competitive game last night, and their fitness level was magnificent. They got a man sent off, and Celtic played against 10 men for 30 odd minutes the second half, and there was no difference. They just kept their shape, and they done absolutely brilliant. So I would think these teams all over Europe, they're just, their fitness levels are unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the guys here. Even our level, our boys who are immaculate, they really are. They've got a different type of fitness, if you like. They're maybe not as aggressive as us. They don't like us a tackle like us, like we do. But what I will say is they don't mess about. They don't. They have a good time. They're not clean cut as what everyone likes to believe. But they certainly take their job very, very seriously. And I think now the teams in Europe probably have, when they go into these ties, they've prepared for everything. If people think Molde's going to go Easter and be intimidated by 19,000, then they're on a different planet. Of course, it's great to have your home support. But these guys, if Molde go down to 10 men tonight, for whatever reason, they will be complete and utterly drilled in what they're doing. Yeah. And they'll stick to it. Nobody will not know what they're doing.
Well, Ian, why is that then? Why is that all these European teams? I've seen teams come to. I was at a game years ago at Tynecastle when they played Red Star Belgrade, and they got a man sent off years ago. But they were so drilled and organised, and yet Scottish teams, when we play in Europe, if they go down to 10 men, seem to capsize a wee bit.
Yeah, I think even against Hibs played the Greeks at Asteris, they went down to 10 at home, got their goal, and Hibs were hanging on at the end. It didn't look like 10-11 over there. So there's another example. I just generally think certainly from my experience over here, is we could do tactical shape all day long with the boys, and not a single boy would moan about it. And we can keep them out there, and it doesn't matter if it's minus 15 or it's plus 30 degrees. They'll just stay and they'll do it because they want to learn so much and they want to be ready for whatever happens. So if we go down to 10 men on Saturday, for example, all they'll need to shout on is, or the manager will just shout on, everybody knows what they're doing, put his thumbs up, and they'll all just nod their head because they know exactly what to do if we go down to 10. I just think the knowledge that they want to take in about football is so high now that it's almost, sometimes I say, as a manager, I'm like, I don't know how you can do this 24/7. They just want information, and more information.
Amazing. Ian, listen, thanks for being on with us as always and taking a look at Molde for us. Let's hope that Hibs go through tonight. I have a good feeling for it, I must be honest with you. You're absolutely right. Lenny's got them flying, but not in an aeroplane type way, because that gets them in trouble. Cheers again.
Good luck, Ian.
No problem.
Cheers, bye-bye. Ian Murray there talking to us about Molde. Ian, of course, in Norway is assistant to ex-Hibs teammate Kevin Nicol Asker, and telling us a wee bit about Molde. It's interesting, listening to Ian talking about players in these countries and how they soak up and want to soak up various things that are about the technicalities of the game, the kind of tactics of the game and things like that. I was talking to Ziggy Gordon when he was in Poland, and Ziggy was saying exactly the same thing. He said what it teaches you going abroad to play in these places, because of their attitude from getting up in the morning to going to bed at night, he said it's just incredible. He said it's not just the footballing side of things, but you start to feel a better person as well because of the disciplines that you start putting in your life. I think that they must take it real serious, because I know for a fact in Scotland when teams, people that I know are coaches and they shape up their team, it's a moan, they're grown. If you've done it for 30 minutes, they're wanting to get back into the dressing room and get changed. If it's cold, we're hanging about here. And the shaping of the team is most important. Now, what Ian Murray's saying is they can do that for hours on end and they're happy to do it. And come the Saturday, if they're a man down, then everybody knows what they're doing. That never happens in Scotland, because people just it's like people run all the ship and you get a man setting off and they're shouting off to the bench, what do we do here? Whereas
He's telling us it's all organised. Well, I don't think it's as organised in Scotland as it is what he's telling us in Norway.
So what do we do? Do we bring in players from the continent who are used to playing or used to drilling like these guys in Norway and Poland and various other places? And so they're used to that type of training, they're used to that type of kind of coaching. They come over, rather than learn from them and pick bits up from them and pick their brains and kind of develop so that there's a melding of what we do well and a melding of what's done well on the continent. Do we just try and make them fit in with what we do?
Well, that's a hard one, Bill. I don't know. I really don't know about that. But
because it would be silly, surely, if we didn't try and learn.
I think you've got to learn everywhere you go. Every day's a school day, so you've got to learn at every game that you play and do things. In the SPFL, I would say that every team in the SPFL, when they're doing shape, that it's regimental, they've got to do it. But I'm talking about when you come out and you go to part-time teams, that the guys have just finished their work and they've got to shape up for a game on the Saturday. On the Thursday night, it's cold. They don't want to get home. They're not interested, Bill. I know. You give them information and people say, you should know what you're doing if a certain situation happens. How many times do you see when a guy gets sent off, they'll look at each other and go, what are we doing? You play 4-4-1. They should know that before the game, but they don't take the information in training because they're part-time, they're finished work and they want home to play on the Saturday. It's not a serious part-time football here, I think.
I don't know how you make it more serious because, as you say, there's boys that are playing football, and when you're playing part-time in Scotland, you're not exactly on the Klondike Trail, are you, financially? It's great if you want to play football and you get decent money, but you've still got your job and that's the thing that's paying your bills. So I don't know. I don't know how they treat players abroad that are part-time and what kind of money they get and what kind of... I mean, I heard the story, and I think it might have been Ian that told us it the last time he was on, and it was one about players who were part-time somewhere. Might even have been at his club or in Norway, but anyway, the club actually get involved in finding them the right kind of work that accommodates what they're doing and stuff like that. I know it's a big ask and I know it takes a lot of organisation. I think it's a cultural thing more than anything, to be honest with you, Jerry.
I think you're right, but I just, from experience, I haven't been and done it. I finished my work and gone to Hamilton Accies for training on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, and come a Thursday night it could be pouring for the heavens and you're on a red ash pitch, all the balls are lying in the centre of the pitch, but you're not using any balls because Lambie would have you shaping the team. But it was really cold, wet and miserable, and people going, we know what we're doing, let's get off. And as sure as God, after maybe 15 minutes, we all go back into the dressing room because we all want a shower, freezing cold. But nobody took the information in when you were part-time. And I don't know if it's changed now, but in my day, nobody took... If you're full-time, and it's your livelihood, you've got to do it. Part-time players, for me, weren't as committed. And what they used to say was, if you're a part-time player, it was 80% of your time with 20% wages.
Well, that's a very good point, isn't it? Let's look at the Hibs game, though, tonight against Molde. We've heard what Ian has to say. We know that John McGinn's gone. What's your thoughts on McGinn choosing Villa over Celtic? Or I actually said last night, you wouldn't have heard it because you would have been at the game, but I actually said that I felt the report of Celtic, if they did, matching the offer that Villa made, was pretty much a gesture just so they could say to fans, we tried.
Again, I said before as well, Bill, I didn't see the need for John McGinn. John McGinn's a good player.
But Brendan sat there at the press conference, and whether he was using it as ammunition in this rancor that's going on at the minute about transfers, he sat there and he said, I want John McGinn at Celtic. I think he's a great player. We rate him very highly. I spoke to Tony Haggerty last night from the Daily Record. He says he's been on Rodgers' radar for ages, and Rodgers has made no secret he wanted him at Celtic. So choosing to go to Villa, and if Celtic did match, obviously they couldn't match personal terms, you wouldn't have thought.
Correct.
But if they did match the transfer fee, boyhood fan of Celtic, what do you think it was? Was it purely the money, the personal terms that swayed it?
No, I don't think the money came into it at all. I think the fact that he's went to Villa knowing he will play in the Aston Villa team. I think he'll be guaranteed to play in the Villa team. Was he guaranteed to play in a Celtic team? I don't think so.
I went out to dinner with Steve Bruce, and he said that's pretty much what Steve Bruce told him, that he would be playing.
Well, that's it. Players want to play. John McGinn's 23 years of age. He wants to play football. If somebody tells you it's a massive club like Aston Villa, they've come out of the Premier League, you come to my club and you will be in my team, you will play. On the other hand, if he had spoken to him at Celtic, they couldn't guarantee him he would play every week. So that boy wants to play. He's made the right move, as far as I'm concerned. The right move.
Listen, here's one that's come in as well, another tweet, and it says, when Celtic went down to 10 men against Rangers and played better than Rangers did against Aberdeen, Scottish football and coaching is just as good as any other European system. I'm assuming, that whoever sent it in, Mark M, it was that sent it in. Mark, I think Gerry was making that point when you come to the professional teams. It's when you come to the part-time teams that you have a different kind of situation.
Different mentality.
There.
When your job's on the line and you're a full-time player, your job's on the line, then you give everything you've got. When you're part-time and you finish you might be up at 5 in the morning working in whatever, and you go to training. You want to get the training over, you want to get your shower, and you want to get home. It's not to a Saturday that you actually switch on for the game this Saturday. But come training for part-timers, nah, it was never 100%.
Here's an interesting one, which will be half-time whistle approaching between Dynamo Minsk and Zenit, who I think are the candidates to play Hibs if Hibs go through. Dynamo Minsk at the moment beating Zenit 3-0.
Oh, that's a shock for me.
It is for me as well.
That's a shock.
I would have been looking at Zenit being. I know it's in Minsk, but I would have still said Zenit would have been holding their own. I'd have been looking probably a draw at this point.
No red cards?
Nothing so far that I know about, but I'll find out and let you know.
Because you would think in a game like that, the team that is getting beat, but you thought were winning, may have had a red card.
Hibs play the winner of that game in the next round potentially.
Yes.
So that's one they'll be watching with great interest. Just looking at Hibs, obviously you're in a situation where they've brought in Emerson Hyndman, who was at Rangers, very good in set pieces, good player. Not the same type of player as McGinn. You're going to think that maybe Lenny is going to have to change his style of play a wee bit, but are you happy that they've still got a strong enough squad to go through? Well,
I think Lenny's got the best out of them by a country mile. And I'm sure he'll pick up another wee gem. I believe he picked up a gem and he brought Stevie Mallon in. And I'm sure that the people that do the scouting for Lenny will go and dig up somebody else in that division to replace Sean McGinn.
All right, well, let's change direction again. Move to Rangers at Ibrox tonight. Rangers against Maribor. Our man there is Tom Miller from Rangers TV. Tom, how you doing?
I'm very good, Bill, and good evening, Gerry. There's a real sense of anticipation in the air down Ibrox way tonight, guys.
Let me ask you, Tom, because the one question that people have been asking me is Ryan Jack, is he out because of that whack he got at the weekend?
No risks taken. That's the absolute bottom line. There was a faint chance, pardon the term, that he could well have played. The decision was he might be more valuable away from home and give him an opportunity to make sure there are no ill effects. And of course, I just chatted with Richard Gough, and Gerry knows exactly where I'm going to go with this one here. I said Richard, when I was chatting to him, would have played with a frontal lobotomy if the occasion arose in the good old days. But now they're so conscious of potential health issues, and UEFA directives mean that there's any sign of concussion, the player has a mandatory 7 days where they should not be involved. So Rangers taking no chances there at all. So that means 3 changes in the starting lineup. Of course, there's no Josh Windass for the obvious reasons. Jamie Murphy also drops out, and starting jerseys go to the on-loan Liverpool pairing of Ove Ejaria and Ryan Kent. Daniel Candeias comes back to double up on that right flank alongside the captain, James Tavernier, who continues to be Rangers' main man. And
there must be a huge sigh of relief round Ibrox that Tavernier is leading the team out tonight, Tom.
No, bottom line, wrong club, wrong value. You know, James Tavernier came £250,000 from Wigan. He knows what the Championship is about in England. Seen it, done it, worn the T-shirt. He's came to Rangers, he's embraced the demands of being a Ranger, which aren't easy. It can be a heavy jersey to fill, particularly when you're down in that Championship, as was when he signed. He's come through that. The manager, Steven Gerrard, quickly recognised the qualities and talents of James Tavernier, rewarded him with the captain's armband. And my belief is that James Tavernier could well have a career south of the border, but he's way better than West Bromwich Albion, who had a king's ransom of £90 million for relegation, and they want to come up here and use petty cash to sign a player from Rangers. I think Rangers would have perhaps had their attention grabbed had they started at £5 million. They may well have had a decision to make. At the figures that had been quoted, it was never on the radar. And I have spoken to James Tavernier tonight. He's just delighted to get on with his business as Rangers captain.
Tom, can I ask you very quickly about Josh Windass? Because I hadn't heard anything, but I then heard that Wigan were convinced they'd got the deal over the line in time. Can you confirm that Josh Windass has now gone to Wigan?
No, I'm unable to do so, Bill. I've been focused on the job in hand here tonight, which is a full house at Ibrox and my match commentary role for Rangers versus Maribor. The last I heard, Josh Windass was very close to putting pen to paper to become a Wigan player, and at the moment I would be hesitant just to say that it's a done deal, but I think it's 99.9% in that favour.
That's fine, Tom, because as I say, I hadn't heard that the deal had gone through. It was through the grapevine. I'd heard that Wigan had said that they felt they'd managed to get it done in time, but there would be no confirmation of that. Do you have the lineups for us, Tom?
I don't, actually. All I've got is the Rangers side at the moment. I'm still waiting confirmation of the Maribor side. So Rangers, with those three changes I mentioned, means Alan McGregor's in goal. He's playing his 49th European match in Rangers colours this evening, which brings him in third in the all-time recognised European campaigners from an Ibrox perspective, on hand to play his 50th game in Europe for Rangers next Thursday in Slovenia. So McGregor, that visionary signing from the summer, is between the sticks. It's a very familiar looking back four, guys: Tavernier, Goldson, Katic and Flanagan. Then they've gone for a really busy midfield. Candias on the right flank, Ryan Kent on the left. Koulibaly and Scott Arfield will be asked to show their qualities to button up the midfield and release Ove Ejaria to get forward and support the main striker in Alfredo Morelos. I can tell you Wes Foderingham is on the bench this evening. Another conundrum for Steven Gerrard. Two goalkeepers who aren't first picks, both in demand south of the border. We shouldn't forget that Championship and English Football League clubs window doesn't close for loans until the end of August. So there may well still be business to be done, but Wes Foderingham, I can tell you, is the man who's given the job as change goalkeeper tonight should be called into action. So full house expected at Ibrox. Surface looking absolutely sensational. Rangers, of course, you have to say, maybe Maribor won, eliminating Rangers in 2011. They've also got the scalps of Hibs, Aberdeen and Celtic in recent seasons. However, last season down at Liverpool, they were turned over 3-0, and perhaps more alarmingly was Liverpool beat them in Slovenia 7-0. So there's no doubt in my mind that Steven Gerrard and his backroom team will have been on the phone getting details about Maribor from last season from all their contacts down Anfield Way. I can also tell you that the potential opponents in that playoff round, which started today, remember that it was the UFA of Russia were entertaining Progress, who need no introduction. Just think back 13 months ago. It was a 3 o'clock kickoff in Russia, and the home side won 2-1. They'll do it all again on Tuesday with a 5 p.m. kickoff UK time to see who takes on the winners between Rangers and Maribor. First leg tonight at Ibrox, then they go head-to-head on Thursday in Slovenia. All to play for, and Rangers under Steven Gerrard focused, determined and absolutely committed to taking the club forward for all the obvious reasons too. The financial package is relatively rewarding, but it also galvanises the team along the way.
Tom, I'll let you get back and do your job for Rangers TV, which I believe are covering the match exclusively tonight.
Yeah, so a huge audience, Bill. We always have a good audience globally anyway, but tonight it's a fixture that none of the other broadcasters have shown appetite for. So the only way to catch the game by way of pictures, live and exclusive, Rangers TV.
And who's on the gantry beside you?
No one yet, and I'm always alarmed. Kevin Thompson has the timekeeping of an Ali McCoy. So the former Rangers and Hibernian midfield player, KT, is due to join me very shortly indeed, but he's a resident of an EH postcode, and you know what that means, that he's got a bit of traffic to face on the M8, but he's hugely entertaining. He'll join me very shortly. Then on Sunday, interestingly, if I can just have him pop a Mogadon or two, our old pal Shug Burns will join me in the hot seat for Rangers versus St Mirren.
Tom, tell Shog I wasn't asking for him, will you?
Gerry, it'll be a pleasure.
Tom, we'll let you get off because I know you're busy and a lot to do before you start your show at Rangers TV. Thanks very much, mate.
Please give me regards.
Cheers. And we'll talk to you, believe it, full time, I hope.
Looking forward to it. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Bill.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks again.
Top man. Tom Miller talking to us from Ibrox. Tom, of course, commentating for Rangers TV, who are covering the game tonight for you if you're a Rangers fan, in the same way that Celtic did last night for Celtic fans with Celtic TV. Ryan Jack, a miss?
Massive miss. I mean, Steven Gerrard's just been over the moon with him, has he not? I mean, the last two games.
Lyrical.
Oh, God of me. He thinks he's found a real player there. So it just shows you that Jack has now responded to what Gerrard's doing. So, yeah, massive miss tonight.
It would be great if we could get some kind of result for Hibs and for Rangers tonight, because Celtic are not out it by any manner of means. But they're not. While it's a draw, they've still got an opportunity to go over there.
Well,
I mean, let me ask you this:
right.
Would you fancy Celtic to be able to nick a goal away from home over there?
Yes.
Is your worry then that the defence, as we've spoken about? But they might bring in somebody like, well, they probably would bring in somebody like Boyata again, surely, to shore up the back four.
I don't think there's any doubt that Celtic will score away from home. I think that's not the question. The question is, can they go with a clean sheet? And I've got to be honest and say, I don't think they can.
Even if they brought Boyata or Simunovic?
No.
You don't?
I think because I think if you look at Simunovic, I mean, there's a mistake in Simunovic week in, week out. There's a mistake in Boyata, which has been proved. Now, we spoke to the boy the other day there for England, and all of a sudden he mentioned at the Rangers game about Boyata with the boy Windass. So people know about Boyata, about his liability, about his, maybe, what's the word that you would say, that his casual approach to getting to the ball. I remember the thing in football used to tell people, Lambie used to say, the quicker you get to the ball before your opponent, the more time you got to know what to do with it. Well, for me, Boyata ambles to the ball because he's quick, so he thinks he can amble to the ball and then make his mind up. So, no.
Listening to that Rangers team, and we don't have the Slovenian lineup, obviously. By the way, no red cards in that Dinamo Minsk then at St Petersburg.
Unbelievable result then.
But let me ask you about just hearing the Rangers lineup. When you hear that lineup, you do get, if you're a Rangers fan, a better sense of confidence than you've had for a wee while, because that back four is a far better back four than they've had in recent cases, isn't it?
Without a doubt. I mean, what we're saying earlier, Bill, is that he's identified that he said that they lost too many goals. Well, he's identified that he's got a completely new back four. He's got the midfield player Koulibaly, who, when I sat on the permit panel, I said that I thought he looked a real player. He's got unbelievable physique and stamina. He's aggressive. So I think Steven Gerrard's can identify what he needs in a Rangers team. I say again, it might not be the quality that Celtic are looking for, but in terms of what Rangers want, the quality is much better than they've had in the last 3-4 years. So the Rangers fans must be absolutely waxing lyrical about the team, irrespective where they go against Maribor. They've got a better team than they've had in the last 3-4 years, that's for sure.
Tom, of course, highlighting the signing of Alan McGregor, and how important is that just to have somebody of that experience and that kind of profile at the back of you when you're a defender, because I always say, and you would know this anyway better than me, Gerry, back fours always want the keeper that they've got confidence in, and the keeper always wants a back four that he's got confidence in, and they just meld. The fact that Alan McGregor's back there for Rangers now, and the way that he's played so far, how important is that in terms of giving that fairly new defensive setup in terms of getting to know each other, giving them a wee bit of breathing space to do that?
Well, I think Steven Gerrard's identified that he must have thought that he wasn't happy with Wes Foderingham. So if you've got a completely new back four, then you want him to be safe, you want him to be trustworthy of the goalkeeper. That's why he's brought McGregor in. He knows what McGregor can do. He knows the Rangers inside out. He's a Rangers man at heart. So putting him in goal, and he's a better goalkeeper than Foderingham anyway. So I think he's given the back four every opportunity to gel together, knowing fine well what's behind you as a guy that will do the best for Rangers.
What's your thoughts on Morelos?
As a player? No, I'm not a Morelos fan. That's why I know me and you disagree with this, that it was reported in the press that there was a £9 million offer for Morelos. I do not believe that for 1 minute.
Right, okay, well, we're not going down that road again.
No, but I think if you're offered £9 million for a player, a team like Rangers...
There is a backstory to
right,
it,
okay.
which I can't expose at this point.
Right.
But I do know that the money was there, and I do know it was cash money. It wasn't instalments or anything like that. It was a deal. But as I say, there's a backstory. I'll probably tell you that when we come off.
Is there any player in the Rangers team right now that you would say if a £9 million offer came in, they would turn down? Anybody?
No.
Right.
No.
Enough said.
No, I think the Rangers team and the setup then, albeit that it wasn't that long ago, is totally different to what it is now. Bearing in mind you're the caretaker manager and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think the general administrative structure of the team, with Steven Gerrard and Gary McAllister and everybody else that's come in, I think it's a different ball game. I was talking to somebody the other night who knows the club extremely well, and knows the game extremely well. And you would know them if I told you who it was, but I'm not going to do it just now. And they said that it's quite exciting to see Gerrard in operation because he's this hybrid where he has got elements of the old-fashioned managers, like your Fergusons, like your Jocksteins, like your Shankleys, where he can be that kind of manager. Now, people argue, and rightly so, because the game has changed, that there isn't the place for that kind of manager now in the modern game because of the way players are, because of the way everything is with the game. But because he's not stopped playing that long ago, he's great in that way as well. So he's become a bit of a hybrid, and he kind of very quickly identifies who he can be the old-fashioned type manager with and who he's got to give a wee cuddle to. And they were saying they've been so impressed just by the way his man management lines up, how he does it, the conversations he has, the thoughtfulness he gives to various things.
I think anybody in England or Scotland, if you ask them, a football player, if you said to him, would you like to play under Steven Gerrard as a manager? Without question, everybody would say yeah. I'm including Celtic players in that as well. I don't mean a current Celtic player leaving there to go to play for Gerrard.
I know what you mean. But if any player
would you like to play under Steven Gerrard? Of course he would. The experience that man's got, the recognition that man had in world football as a player, he's trying to transfer that into his coaching. Whether he does it now, players don't make world-class coaches. And that's been proved in the past. Sarti, who was the Italian manager, won the World Cup, didn't he? Never played football. So it's what he does now, it's what Steven Gerrard does. And again, the Old Firm game coming up, if Steven Gerrard puts a good performance on his team, then all of a sudden Rangers will be back. But if Celtic beat them handsomely, I keep saying to you, Bill, if Celtic won handsomely, where do Rangers go? On the flip side, if Rangers come to Parkhead and beat them, people's going to look up. Steven Gerrard won't be at Rangers long if that happens, because people will then think, this guy's got it. He's got it.
Well, more to the point, and I'm not being funny, but if Rangers went and beat Celtic with all the current furore that's gone, would Brendan be there very long? Would he be unhappy that he hadn't got what he wanted?
Well, that's true. But the fact is that Rangers have probably spent more money this year than Celtic, and we're a completely new team, and that must worry Brendan. Brendan must sit down and think, they've spent more money, they've got better players than what they had in the two previous managers, so there may be a challenge on. Maybe that's why Brendan was adamant that he gave the Celtic board a list of players who we don't know. We don't know who the player. I'd love to know who was on the list and who he couldn't get. So.
All right, let's go to Easter Road. Ewan Robertson's there for us. Ewan, first thing I've got to ask you is, Darren McGregor was looking at a late fitness test. Has he passed it?
No, Darren McGregor has not passed it. And it's not the only surprise in the side tonight, Bill, because Ross Laidlaw is in goal, so Adam Bogdan misses out. He was brilliant in the 1-1 draw away to Greece in the last round, which got Hibs there tonight. So a couple of big misses, Bill. But
the good thing is Florian Camberry's back, isn't he?
Yeah, Florian Camberry is playing, Bill. It'll be interesting to see how Hibs line up, because I've got a feeling they might go with 5 or 3 at the back, because in their side is Hanlon, Ambrose and Porte. So unless Effie Ambrose plays in a midfield role, I would suggest they're going to play 5 in the back, Bill.
What about Hindman? Did they get him registered? I believe they did in time to play tonight, and if so, does he feature?
yes, Emerson Hyndman did feature in the squad. He's only on the bench tonight, Bill, and obviously I think hiding under a rock. The big news coming out of Hibs is obviously John McGinn's move to Aston Villa, and that means that not only do they miss McGinn, but also Dylan McGook, and they were two driving forces in Hibs' success last season. However, Stevie Malin came in this season with a revelation. He's been really impressive whenever I've seen him, and I thought Hyndman done very well at Rangers, even though he's only here for 6 months. I believe they got an option to extend it for the full season, so it'll be interesting to see how that partnership in midfield progresses as the season goes on.
Yeah, I know it's early yet, Ewan, but of course that you've probably been in amongst the fans, hanging about the pubs and round outside the ground. What's the general feeling by Hibs players, fans? Obviously, the talking point will be John McGinn, but they'll be focused on tonight's game. Is there an air of confidence?
I think there's an air of confidence that stems from how they've progressed in this tournament so far. I was saying before that I think they've almost surpassed expectations already getting to this stage, especially when you consider they were 2-0 down at home in the last round. If Hibs do win tonight or win this tie, it'll be the first time they've ever reached the playoff stage since the new format of the competition. I think Hibs fans are very realistic. I think they let John McGinn go. They've wished him well. They've realised that he's been a brilliant servant for the club in his 3 years here, and he went to a massive club in Aston Villa. Speaking to a few fans outside, I think they were happy that he did go to Villa and not Celtic. I think it will be difficult. Molde are a good side. What's telling are they're 14 games through their season already. Now that can also work two ways. Maybe they'll be a bit more tired than Hibs, or maybe they've got more match fitness in their legs. Only time will tell, Bill.
Gerry, is there anything you want to add to things?
I think it's a difficult game for Hibs tonight. I think Molde are an experienced European team. If you look at Molde, they play in Europe every year, Bill. Every year. Hibs have been back in European football for the last couple of years, so I think it's a real difficult game. And any victory for Hibs tonight would be a great result.
Have you got the teams yet in their entirety, Ewan?
Yes, Bill, I'll just read them out for you in a minute. But what I'll say to Jerry's point is obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the manager at Molde. He became famous for that historic goal in 1999 against Bayern Munich. But they've been dealt a major blow because their star player, Erling Haaland, he left Edinburgh earlier on today. He flew out to Salzburg and he signed for Red Bull, so he's missing tonight. He's a big player, so that might give Hibs more confidence. But I'll go for the teams for you, Bill.
Well, that's interesting just before you do, because we were talking to Ian Murray, who of course is out in Norway managing in one of the lower leagues, and he was saying that deal was pretty much on, but never gave any indication as to whether it was going to go through today. So that's interesting that you say that, because he says the boy's only 18 years old, but he doesn't play like an 18-year-old. And to quote Ian, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, he said every team in the world's after him.
Correct.
Yeah, Bill, I've actually watched him quite a lot. Clips on YouTube and Live Scout and stuff like that, because he was linked with clubs like Manchester United and Chelsea down south. It's absolutely huge. The funny thing is, remember Alfinger Haaland, who Roy Keane famously injured and ruined his career? I think it's his son.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe so. So it's a big move. I'm quite surprised he's went to a club of Red Bull Salzburg stature. I thought he could go to a bigger club, but to be fair to the Red Bull side, both them and Leipzig, they're very ambitious, so maybe he's going there as almost a stepping stone to bigger and better things in the future. He's definitely one to look out for, but I spoke to a couple of the Molde staff before the game, and they say he'll be a huge miss tonight.
Well, that's interesting. Right, let's have those teams in, mate.
So for Hibernian, Ross Laidlaw starts at goal, the youngster. At the back will be David Gray, Paul Hanlon, Ryan Porteous, Effie Ambrose, Marvin Bartley will be in midfield with Slivka, Boyle, Mallon, Stevenson, and up front I think Martin Boyle will play just off Canberry. For Molde, it's Linda in goal, Gabrielsen, Soren, Gregerson, Eichram, Saar, Strand, Hussein, Hestad, Chima and Haugen. And the referee tonight, Bill, is Adam Fargus, and he's from Hungary.
Okay. Ewan will be back with you at half time. Sorry, were you going to say something?
I was going to say that normally you would say to your team is, if you win the home game, don't concede, and you've got a good chance away from home. But that doesn't apply to Hibs, does it? Because they won 3-2.
No, I was saying that in my build-up almost. Even though I watched Hibs on Saturday against Motherwell, they won 3-0. But in the second half, Motherwell had about 12 shots on target. Hibs are probably the most exciting team to watch in the league going forward, but they always give you a chance or 6 at the back.
They remind me a wee bit of back in the 90s, Newcastle United, where it was kind of, it doesn't matter if we lose 3, we'll score 4 kind of thing. So it's interesting. Ewan, speak to you half-time. Thanks for that.
No problem, Bill. Bye-bye.
Ewan Robertson reporting there from Easter Road. Interesting that boy has gone to Salzburg. I just wonder what that does for a team when the boy's in Edinburgh then leaves to go somewhere else.
Money talks. That's football. Money talks.
Incredible. Listen, it would be great. I was saying earlier on, and I know you're not convinced it's a hard ask for Celtic to go through, but it would be great if the 3 teams could go through. If Rangers, and I think Rangers have got a hard job tonight. I really do. Maribor are no pushovers. Mm-hmm. They've broken Scottish hearts previously, as Tom said.
Yeah. I think for the coefficient, we've got to try and get as many teams through as possible. We keep talking about, I keep saying about Celtic having 4 qualifiers to get into a group stage. The only way we can better that is by getting the coefficient up and getting teams through to latter stages of competitions. That's the only way it's going to change.
I mean, to be fair, we've done better than we've done in previous seasons with the Europa League already.
Yes. Correct, you're right. So you're hoping the Hibs do get through, you're hoping Rangers get through, because it can only help Scottish football.
No, you're absolutely right. Do you think that, and I don't know the best way to put it, do you think that we're focusing better with our top clubs on European tournaments and competition, albeit that their expectation probably isn't getting to group stages, but still kind of using that European stage to kind of push on a wee bit? I
think it's great for clubs. See when we were at Thistleball, we were in the Intertoto Cup, and the format's all changed, and what you would do is you had to get in the Intertoto Cup, and if you won it, you qualify for the UEFA Cup. And we played teams like Linz in Austria, played Metz in France, and the players loved it. Absolutely loved it going away. So it must be great for Hibs, Celtic, Aberdeen, Rangers to go and play these European teams, because you're pitting your wits against better players.
Well, we'll find out a wee bit more about Maribor, because we're going to talk to Nathan Oduwa, who played for Rangers, of course, and has also played with Olimpia Ljubljana last season, who were NK Maribor's big rivals. He played against Maribor last season, currently looking for a club, and we're going to be talking to Nathan hopefully very, very soon about that, just to get a bit of a lowdown, like we did with Molde from Ian Murray, about where Maribor stand. And just what the threat is, what the danger is. So let's bring in Nathan now. Nathan Oduwa, former Rangers and former Olimpia Ljubljana player. Nathan, thank you first of all for talking to us tonight. Let me ask you a little bit. When you look at this tie, how do you feel? And I know that it's a completely new Rangers, but how do you feel about Rangers' chances tonight?
I feel that Rangers have got a very good chance. I mean, with the new manager and the new players they've brought in, I've been watching their games at home, and I've been enjoying their performances, especially when they went down to 10 men against Aberdeen. I thought they battled quite hard to make sure that they got the point, even though they did have the lead and they let it slip at the end. I was still quite impressed with their performances. Now,
you played against Maribor, of course, last season. Give us an idea of what kind of team and what kind of way they play. How do they shape up? Do they hit people on the counter? Do they play out from the back? Do they use the channels? What kind of team are Maribor tactically?
Tactically, Maribor are very solid defensively, and they like to counter-attack or pounce on mistakes. But as a whole, I'll say they're a very counter-attacking team, and they can be very lethal going forward. They have a young striker named Zakovic, and he's a top talent. Also, they have experience in Tavares, their number 9. Very strong.
He's a Brazilian boy.
Yes, he's the Brazilian guy. Very strong, very clean on the ball as well. Has good hold-up play. So Maribor's not a team that you can just take lightly.
Just tell us a wee bit about do they play with a bit of pace? I mean, do they counter-attack? You say they pick up on mistakes. Do they play fairly high up the park? Do they press you so that you make those mistakes?
From past encounters, I was at a team that kept the ball very well. So they knew that it would be very difficult to take the ball of us. So they usually just sit back and try and pounce on you from the counter when you've overcommitted a lot of players. But sometimes they do go on the odd press and try to force a mistake out of you. But most of the time, from experience, they just sit back and counter.
And are they happier playing at home, or are they just as comfortable playing away from home?
They're just as comfortable, to be honest. It doesn't matter where they're playing. They've been a group for a long time now, so they know each other pretty well. So it doesn't faze them if it's a home game or if it's an away game. So
they're a fairly established squad and feel that, you know, they've got that experience of playing regularly with each other over a sustained period of time.
Yeah. You said it exactly right. They've qualified for the Champions League, I think it's twice now in the past 5 years, I think. And they're just very experienced and they know how to manage games as well. So it'll be a good test for Rangers, but I believe Rangers can do it.
Nathan, what's the expectation level of Maribor when they drew Rangers? And everyone knows that Rangers are in transition with new managers. Would they have been happy with that draw, or would they see that draw as a difficult one for them?
I think they will take every game as they always do. They take every game as a big game, whether it's the team that's bottom in Slovenia or whether they're playing Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge. They're always going to give their all and try and get the 3 points. So the Rangers would have to be on their guard tonight.
Are they a pretty physical team? I know they'll be good technically because all the teams from that neck of the woods are very good technically. And they'll be well drilled, they'll keep their shape well, but are they quite physical?
No, they're not as physical. The Scottish League is very physical, as I've experienced. But
I remember you experiencing it a couple of times.
Yeah, a couple of times, don't worry. But Slovenia's not as physical as the English or the Scottish League, so you won't be experiencing such a physical game.
And do you think if Rangers played a traditional Scottish game against them and were that little bit more physical, would it upset them?
Pardon? Sorry, could you repeat that again, please?
I was just saying, if Rangers played in a typical Scottish way and were that little bit more physical, would it upset Maribor, do you think?
Yeah, they can lose their heads a bit, and I don't think they're up to a physical challenge. But they're still a very good outfit, and you can't underestimate them. But physically, I wouldn't say that's their game.
That's interesting, Gerry, isn't it?
It sure is, but I think they've got a wee shock tonight when they play Rangers in, because Rangers, they'll be physical. Rangers play a physical type game.
I think they probably play more of a physical type game now that they've brought in your Katiches and your Goldsons and people like that, John Flanagan, that kind of thing, and big Koulibaly in the midfield. I mean, Steven Gerrard calls him the destroyer.
I think that. Yeah.
I mean, the intensity. Sorry to stop you there. I mean, the intensity that the Scottish League brings compared to the Slovenian League is, in my opinion, miles above. So that could play a big factor. But their style of play, they enjoy soaking up pressure. So it's a game that could go either way, to be honest. Teams
that enjoy soaking up pressure enjoy soaking up because they always have the confidence that they can do something, like you say, on the counter, on the break or whatever. So I think as much as Rangers might be encouraged that they might have a lot of pressure and a lot of the ball, they've still got to be very, very careful. I assume, Nathan, that Maribor don't break and punish them.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it'll be a very interesting game. I'll be watching, of course. But I just believe if Rangers play at the intensity that we all know they can, then I don't see why it should be a hard fixture, to be honest.
Have you noticed a higher level of intensity from this Rangers team under Steven Gerrard? Because one of the comments that a number of comments have been made, both by fans and by the media now, have said that Rangers look a lot fitter than they've looked for a long time. They're quicker to the ball. They're more competitive for the second ball. Have you noticed that yourself and what you've seen of them so far?
The fans are exactly right. I've noticed that as well. I mean, obviously, Steven Gerrard is a fantastic player, and he's only going to bring experience from what he's learnt playing in the Premier League. So I believe he's installed that into Rangers, and that is a big plus nowadays in the football game. You see a lot of physical and intense pressing from teams, and it's a big factor in the game nowadays, and I just hope Rangers can keep it up for the rest of the season.
Nathan, how many internationals are in the Maribor team?
Internationals? To be honest, I don't have a clue.
Right.
I don't have a clue.
No,
All I know of the main one is Tavares. He's from Brazil, but other than that, I don't know anyone else.
All right, well, listen, thank you, Nathan, for taking the time to talk to us tonight. You want to give us a prediction on the score?
I'm going for 2-0 Rangers.
Great, okay, thank you for that. Thanks very much, and good luck in finding a new club.
Thank you very much.
Cheers,
and,
thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you. Nathan Oduwa there, talking to us about Maribor. Nathan, of course, played for Olympia Ljubljana last season, who are Maribor's big rivals. Interesting about the physical thing, wasn't it? Because I thought Osijek were pretty physical, especially when they came to Ibrox. So I would have thought from the kind of Balkan neck of the woods that teams would be a wee bit physical, and I'm surprised to hear him say that they don't like the physical game.
Well, see, when you go back in the history books, when Martin O'Neill came to Celtic, the first thing he did was that Rangers were dominating Scottish football, and the first thing he did, he signed big players. He went and got Useful Haran from Belgium, and then gets Chris Sutton, John Hartson, blah, blah, blah. He floods his team with big guys because they wanted to be more physical. He felt that Celtic weren't as physical as what Rangers were, so he had to match that. Steven Gerrard came to Rangers, and the one thing he's identified is that he watched every Old Firm game that they played, and he identified that Rangers were weak. They had to be stronger and more physical about just in their general play. So he's went and signed guys like Koulibaly and these big guys, hoping that they can go and impose the physical aspect of the game that he wants.
Jerry, I don't know how much of Rangers you've seen so far this season.
Aberdeen game.
You saw the Aberdeen game.
Yes.
Have you noticed a higher intensity in the way and the way that they compete in terms of getting men to the ball and surrounding players and those second balls? And I don't think sometimes we all realise as non-footballers, not ex-pros or played at a high level of the game, that we realise how important the second ball is.
I said to you before, Will, I see a similarity the way Steven Gerrard's wanted to play the game to Brendan Rodgers, and maybe that comes from the Liverpool aspect, I don't know, but when Rodgers came here, the team that he took over looked much sharper and fitter. They pressed higher up the park. Watching the Rangers game on Sunday, Rangers pressed high up the park. Their shape was unbelievable, and their physical aspect of the game was, they were so fit for 10 men to play the way they played, and that tells me that Steven Gerrard, he's been working and training on their physical aspect so they can go and play for 90 minutes and do what he wants to do.
It's going to be interesting tonight. I mean, you asked me what I thought in terms of scoreline tonight, and I said I think Rangers really need to keep a clean sheet. That's imperative, and I think Steven Gerrard, he'd be happy with any win.
Yes.
But I think he'd be fairly comfortable if they went there with a 2-goal cushion.
Bill, I think if 1-0, if Steven Gerrard gets a 1-0 victory, I think he'll be delighted, because he's already told you he's got a new back four, and the defending, he's quite happy how they defend. Brendan Rodgers said last night on TV that had Celtic won 1-0, he'd have been ecstatic. because they know how hard it is to compete in Europe. So Rangers getting a victory tonight will be highly delighted.
I don't know if you noticed noticed in the post-match interviews on Sunday after the Aberdeen game. They felt obliged to answer questions about the Morelos thing, obviously, because they were asked.
Yes.
But it seemed to me that the thing that rankled Rangers more than anything in the players and the manager was the fact that they'd lost that clean sheet.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were very annoyed and they all mentioned it. We wanted a clean sheet and we thought we'd come away, and we wanted to come away with a clean sheet. So he's obviously got this instilled in them now. Do not give goals away. See,
I see a difference there as well, Bill, because I see the determination of the manager and possibly the goalkeeper and defender no want to lose a goal. And I go back to last Saturday, Celtic v Livingston, where Celtic lost a goal in the 92nd minute, and they won the game 3-1. We've won the game, but the fact that they lost a goal to a team that I think will finish in the bottom half of the league anyway was shocking, and I think that's the main difference. And Brendan Rodgers would know that as well, about the concentration levels, because if you lose goals against teams that should be blown out of the water, what are you going to do against better teams, which was proved last night?
I know that they certainly were annoyed, Rangers, on Sunday about giving up that clean sheet, and they've made a big thing about it in Europe as well, about keeping clean sheets.
Well, they've worked hard enough he's probably worked hard enough on that aspect of the game not to lose goals, and that would annoy him. But I tell you what, if he gets through the game tonight and no lose a goal and won 1-0, he'll be delighted.
What do you think the score will be?
I think 1-0.
You think they'll win 1-0?
I think they'll win 1-0, yeah. Because I think that after hearing what the big fella said, Big Nathan here, that they don't like the physical type of game, I think they're in for a shock tonight then.
I just hope Morelos doesn't become over physical.
Well, Bill, we talk about making mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Morelos made a mistake at Aberdeen. I'm as surprised as MD that he got away with it. I'm really surprised, because I believe that's how they worded the appeal, is what he got away with it. But he made a mistake. If he learns by the mistake, then
well, Stephen Gerrard's told him today, spoken to him. We had an interview with Stephen Gerrard earlier on, where he was asked about had he had a talk with Morelos, and he said he had, and he highlighted that although he didn't agree with the decision for him to get the red card, and they'd got it overturned, the fact that red card and the opportunity to consider that red card and send him off had cost them 2 points. And he'd made it clear he wasn't happy about that, and he said he'd spoken to Morelos about it.
Well, if Morelos learns by it, then he's a better player, and it shouldn't happen again. But let's see, I think he's a type of player that will happen again, because that's in his makeup. He showed petulance at Kilmarnock last year. He showed petulance at Partick Thistle, where similar circumstances, Bill, he should have been sent off the letter of the law at Partick Thistle. But he didn't. So if he learns by it, then he's a better player.
But while we're talking about the letter of the law, looking at this appeal, which got the red card overturned, it seems that it was the level of intensity of what he did that got him off, according to the wording of the law. And I'm just wondering, what that does in terms of now. We've been very critical over the last few seasons about officiating in the Scottish game. It's not done the officials any real good, this being turned over. Now, according to the letter of the law, and Ali Graham was in your mind about it, but Ali says, having read the actual rule, he said, it's right, he got overturned, it is right. But it doesn't do much for the game, for the officials, or for anybody apart from Rangers. So kicking out, I need to get this right here, so kicking out somebody with a violent intent is different from kicking out through petulance. Is that what you're saying to me? It's the wording which I don't have to my mind at the minute, but it's about violent and aggressive conduct. Right. And I believe, and I don't know, but I believe by general kind of definition, that wasn't taken as violent and aggressive to the level of what violent and aggressive is defined as. So I take it then, if you kick out with petulance, it's not a red card. That would be the case, it would seem. No, yes. That would be the case, it would seem. Well, I think they've opened a can of worms up here, because if that happens again with any other team or any other player, and somebody's provoked
into retaliating through petulance. So your defence would be, if you get sent off, the referee sends you off for violent intent. No, it was petulance, ref, because he elbowed me or he pushed me, so I done it as petulance. So I think it's a big grey area. It's a can of worms.
It is a can of worms, but here's the thing. If you have a definition of a law and you don't adhere to it, is that not an equally big can of worms?
Yeah.
So does the law need to be revisited and clarified and revised?
Well, do you think that the referee's been overruled? He's been overruled, but do you think the referee feels aggrieved that the panel have overruled his decision?
Well, let me put it this way, and we'll come back to that one if I may.
Right.
Will the referee... Is he the fall guy anyway? Because he didn't make the decision.
His assistant
made it. And so what he didn't do, though, and I don't know... Murdo and I on Monday were very much at one about this, and what we felt would have helped that situation was... And in the old days when they weren't mic'd up, he'd have had to do this. I felt part of the problem was he got a message. We don't know what the message was. Yes. It might have been Morelos has just kicked McKenna, red card. He's got to go. Now, in the old days when they weren't mic'd up, the first thing he would have done was he'd have got the whistle, he'd have got the wee buzzer from the flag and all the rest of it, and he'd have gone over and he'd spoken to the assistant, or as he would have been then, the linesman, and said, right, tell me chapter and verse what's happened with this so I can make a decision on it. I think even though they're mic'd up, he should still have done that on Sunday, Jerry, because there was mitigation, and that's an explanation, it's not an excuse, but there was mitigation because he had barged them twice. Yes. And let's be honest, the barge, they're big boys, they're, it's a man's game. It's not something you cry about, but it was deliberate. He ran into Morelos and barged him heftily. So Morelos lashes out, don't condone it. Two wrongs don't make a right. But if he'd have gone and said to the linesman, right, what happened? Tell me chapter and verse. What happened with this? And why did he do it? And what did he do to provoke him if he did anything to provoke him? Then you hand the decision back to the referee.
Yes.
The referee didn't make that decision because he didn't see it. You've got to surely hand the decision back to the referee so that the referee makes that decision. And if he knows all the facts, would he have made the same decision?
So I believe then if that happened, if what you said should have happened, I don't disagree with it. If what you say should have happened and you'd had the conflab, tell me the circumstances leading up to Morelos lashing out. He was barged twice, so the decision the referee would make would be, if he's done it, Morelos has retaliated to 2 challenges. So Morelos would get a red card for retaliation, and the other guy would get the yellow card for the offence. For me, that's all it would change. But it seemed like it was a wording how they did it. He lashed out with petulance. So if you lash out with petulance, there is no violence intent or violent conduct.
Or aggressive conduct.
Aggressive, yes.
And you might be right there. Yeah, I'm just trying to... I've got a wee message here. This is quite interesting. On the kid, Haaland, he will become the most expensive Norwegian in history, overtaking John Carew. Deal is 6 million, rising to 10 based on add-ons. Believed will be loaned back to Molde, then possibly available for the second leg. There's a bit of business.
Unbelievable.
Maybe Tony Fitzpatrick's had a hand in this one.
Great business for Molde.
That is good business for Molde, which was probably why he was allowed to come into Edinburgh and then fly out again, because you would have thought if this business was going to go through and it was just a clean break, he wouldn't have flown with the squad at all. Yeah,
correct. Closer to home, you're talking about great business. Celtic have signed the boy Daniel Lanzani.
Yes,
right,
the Australian boy,
a Manchester City player, 19 years of age. The boy, and if you know the background, at 17, he's Iranian descent. He goes to Australia. He's played 20 first-team games. That's all he's played. He was invited into the Australian national team on the build-up. They named 32 players for the World Cup build-up. So out of 32, he's got to select 23. Somebody told the manager, you should bring this Anzani kid in, just for the experience. And the manager told him, well, we've already got our 32, but we'll bring him, just bring him in. He can show us what he's got and show the talents. And Zani came in, and the first thing the manager did was put him on the World Cup squad.
Didn't he come on 3 times as a sub?
3 times he come on sub. And what I've seen on the clips of him playing for Melbourne and playing for Australia, the kid looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. Totally different for Paddy Roberts. Better physique than Paddy Roberts, and handles himself better on the park. But this kid looks a star in the making.
Now this is a 2-year loan deal, isn't it? Which in itself is quite unusual.
Well, the whole thing's unusual, but a 2-year loan deal. But I tell you what, if Celtic get half of what this kid can do, you need to go onto YouTube to see his games and how he plays. Bill, he plays wide left. He can play off the front. He plays wide right. He takes the ball to people and gets by them as if they're not there. The kid looks amazing.
But bearing in mind what we were talking about earlier on, is he going to get regular game time at Celtic?
Well, is there no a penalty clause now that you pay if you don't play enough games? If you play enough games, then there's no much the same as Charlie Masunda at Chelsea, came to Celtic, didn't play a lot, and I believe that Celtic paid a penalty for that. So if you don't play enough games, there's penalty clauses and put into that.
Okay, that's an interesting one. That's a great bit of business though for Haaland, isn't it? To go back from Red Bull to Mulder.
Getting the money and getting the player, unbelievable. Won the lottery twice.
That is a really good bit of business.
All the people at Hibs and will be clapping their hands that he's not there. Then they find out, he's going to play in the return game.
Aye, at home. At home.
Just haven't signed an £6 million deal. Very good.
You're absolutely right. We've got off to the start, obviously, and we spoke about it on Tuesday with the new season. What's your expectation level for this season out of the SPFL?
Well, I just hope it's going to be. We know it's going to be more competitive because Rangers have shored up what they believe is their problem, the back four. They've invested more money than Celtic this year, so they're having a go. Hibs under Lenny have played good football last year and they've carried it on by getting their wee run in Europe. Hearts, who have started the season quite well, which surprised me a wee bit because they've got a wee influx of players.
That's because they've got long grass at Tynecastle.
Yes. And Aberdeen, who I was disappointed with, but I'm reading that maybe the Burnley game took a lot out of them, so I'm looking for them improving what they showed on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to it.
Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
Would the Burnley game taken as much out of them had it not gone to extra time and they won, say, after Sunday's result? Because a lot of people were saying it was already. I mean, I thought it was a perfectly valid thing to say, but most other people were saying before it. I mean, Shuggy and Murdo said, no, they should be up for it. They should be, they've come away, they've played well, they've represented themselves well. It shouldn't make any difference. I always think, and I thought it was particularly hard psychologically for Aberdeen. And I know, again, you've got more experience of players than me, but for me it was particularly hard for Aberdeen because Celtic went through, Rangers went through, Hibs went through. They were ones that were expected to perform well, not necessarily go through because it was Burnley, but they were second in the league last season. Their expectation level would have been high, and to do maybe a wee bit better than they had done because Burnley were a wee bit behind them in pre-season of preparation. I just think that's a bit of a blow for any team, not just Aberdeen, but any team, when 3 of your other teams from your country go through and you're the guys that don't pull up the...
I don't think that comes to any the mind of MD, but the thing that I would say would be that Celtic under Ronnie Delia, after a European game, no matter who they played the following week, it was like after the Lord Mayor show, they were playing Barcelona in Europe, get humbled, but the following league game, Bill, they never done particularly well because you're going from a high to a low, and without being disrespectful to the teams that are playing in the SPFL, Aberdeen for me were different. They've went for a high playing a team in the English Premier League, Burnley. They've held their own for 90 minutes, but they get beat in extra time, but they're coming back to play their second biggest game of the season, and there's a lot of rivalry between Aberdeen and Rangers.
Yeah, there is.
So they should have been up for it. Everybody should be up for it, irrespective if they played extra time or no. But for me, they weren't up for it. It's probably the poorest performance I've seen for an Aberdeen team against the Old Firm.
Well, let me ask you this, because again, we were talking about it with Murdo and Hugh on Monday night, and it was somebody that asked us, sent in a tweet saying, who do you think's the first manager that will be a managerial casualty? And funnily enough, they both went for Derek McInnes for some reason.
I don't see Derek McInnes being a casualty. I would see, come the end of the season, if Derek McInnes finishes second or finishes third, he would have to, I think, sit down and think, well, I've finished second for the last 4 years. Rangers have now invested under their new manager and they've now got to second. Can I take this team any further with the resources that I've got? And the answer for me would be no. And then I think it would be his decision to leave. But do you walk out a job that's paying you well to go to somewhere you've not got a job? I think you go where you're wanted. If somebody came in for him come into the season, I believe Derek would go now, because I think he has taken Aberdeen as far as he can.
Are you surprised at the lack of activity? And he says he's still looking for players, but it's kind of getting late in the day. I mean, next week we're halfway through August, which means you've got 2 weeks really to bring in those players. I'm just wondering, he says now that he's got to look for a centre-back because 3 of his centre-backs are laid up, and he's got problems there. So he's been forced into purchase an extra centre-back, so he's going to end up with 4 centre-backs. Whereas he might have been looking for somebody else, because I think they need a goal scorer. The boy Cosgrove, for me, is not the answer.
No. I think the best player on their team was Kenny McLean by a country mile. He was orchestrating everything from midfield. They've lost Kenny McLean. Aberdeen are definitely weaker from this year than what they were last year, and I don't think he's replaced anything. And he probably knows that himself, because I think Aberdeen work to a strict budget as well, so it must be hard for Derek McInnes to attract the quality that he wants to come back to Aberdeen and play.
Gerry, who do you think might be the surprise package this season in the Premier League?
Hibs again, because I like the way Lenny's going about doing things, and the fact that Hibs have progressed in Europe, which they haven't done for a long time. Hibs normally go out in the first stage. I think Hibs could be a real surprise this year.
How big a challenge do you think they could mount?
How big a challenge? Well, that's hard to say, but it would go. See, I think everyone hinges on Rangers. I think whatever Rangers do, then if Rangers get their act together and the back four are as good as what Steven Gerrard thinks they are, if they're up there, then they'll make a serious challenge. And then it's whether Hibs and it's a hard one. It depends on Rangers for me. If Rangers don't start the season well, and what I mean is be going and they've got hard games. They go to Fir Park before they play Celtic as well, which is a hard game. So if they get into the Old Firm, give me maximum points, then I would think there could be a challenge on. Likewise, if Hibs get into their season, first 4 games and have a clean sheet and win 4 games, then I think they could be a wee surprise package again.
So that then might put Derek McInnes under the kind of pressure that makes him sit back and think to himself, I've probably done as much as I can do here.
Well, I think that comes, Bill. You know yourself. People know that if you've had a good season, how do you improve on that season? How can Aberdeen improve on what they've done in the last 4 years? By winning a trophy. So if they don't win a trophy and they're third in the league, then it's a poor season for Aberdeen. So it depends. Everyone depends on Rangers, I think.
And you've already said that you think Aberdeen are a weaker team than they were last season. I mean, the 3 top players went.
Correct.
So, I mean, they've done nothing to replace them as yet, in real terms. It's difficult to see, really, if he's got to make a decision about another centre-back, which he says he has got to do, then that's going to take finance. They're not really going to be in a huge position financially to be able to replace those 3 top players to the same level. So they're going to start the season and stay the season weaker than they were last season. I
think, Bill, before we're 1 game into the season, but I think if you asked MD, what team has surprised you after 1 game, and I think they would all say Rangers. Because I don't think MD would have thought that Rangers would spend the type of money that they have spent to recruit the players that they have got, which is better than they had before. So you've got to say, there must be a challenge this year. There must be. I think with the back four...
Do you think realistically, if Rangers can continue the way that they've started in terms of what we've seen, and okay, they only got a draw last week, but a lot of the time I've spoken to people and they said, if you offered Rangers a draw going to Pittodrie for the first game of the season under the new manager, they'd probably have ripped your arm off. Whether that's true or whether it's not, because I think Steven Gerrard's mindset is he wants to win every game.
Yep.
But do you think that Rangers genuinely, and it's early days, I mean, it's the first game, but from what you've seen and about the way they go about their business and the team spirit and this business about the extra fitness and the commitment and challenging players, do you think that they can shrink that lead that Celtic have had over the last couple of seasons?
Well,
or rather, do you think Celtic are capable of maintaining it?
Well, that's
as much as anything.
Well, I think maybe that's why Brendan's a wee bit irked with the directors, because if Brendan said that he's identified players and the board have not acted, Steven Gerrard's identified players and he got them in. Now, as far as I'm aware, that any player that Steven Gerrard wanted, he's got him. There's been no qualms about it. He wanted Katic, he's got him. He wanted Golston, he got him. He wanted Murphy signed. It was a loan player. Wanted Murphy signed. He got him.
Barisic, McGregor.
Well, McGregor was a free transfer, wasn't he? So he'd come in. But Barisic was money. I want Barisic. He got him. So anything he's asked for, you've got to hand it to them. They've gave him the money to go and get them. So, and it's improved Rangers. Whether they put a challenge up, as I keep saying to you, Bill, it's the first game at Parkhead will determine for me whether they put a challenge up.
What's your gut reaction?
My gut reaction is that these investment, they're a better team. Rangers are stronger this year than they were last year. Celtic, for me, are weaker this year than they were last year. But being weaker, are they still stronger than the strongest Rangers team? On paper, I would think they should be, but whether they do it or not is a different thing.
I think it's always interesting when you start matching people up in key areas just to see where they kind of sit on a one-to-one basis, and that's what you'll see as well come that first Old Firm game. You'll see, where the one-to-one matches, the battles are won there. And
is there any, but let me ask you then, is there any Rangers player in the current team now who'd get into a Celtic team?
For me, yes.
How many?
At the moment, probably 2.
One more than me then.
Well, who would you put in the Celtic team?
Taverner.
No, I put Golson's a better centre back than both the centre backs Celtic are playing at the minute. Aya and Henry for me. I think he's got more finesse. He may not be as good a footballer as Aya, but I think all round he's a better centre back than both of those. I'm very impressed with that boy. He marshals the defence positionally. He puts them where he needs them to be. His own positional sense is good. He's good in the air. He tackles. His distribution's good. He very rarely gets caught. In fact, I haven't seen him caught so far.
Well, I've only seen the Aberdeen game, and as I said before, they played a poor Aberdeen for my liking, so he wasn't tested. He'll be tested against Celtic, and then I'll make my judgment on it. Because I haven't seen him.
No, that's fair comment. That's fair comment.
But over the years, when I argue with certain people, and Tony Roper's a big lover of Chris Ayer, he thinks that Ayer's magnificent. And for me, I want 4 defenders in my team. It's okay having ball players.
Well, you know my feeling at the back.
Yeah.
Stoppers. Yeah. That's what you want.
Well, 4 defenders. If you've got 4 defenders, you've got a goalkeeper and 4 defenders. So you're looking for 6 further.
I'm in the same place as you with that.
6 further players that are attack-minded. That's fine. As long as you've got 4 defenders. For me, this is just my opinion. Celtic have got Tierney, who's a good defender. They've got Jack Henry, who I think is a poor defender because he gives you chances, and he gave a chance last night again. He gave a chance against Rosenborg. Ayer takes chances, get caught twice last night, one for the goal and one that we got away with. And for me, again, Lustig has had a great 7 year at Celtic, but I think the legs have gone a wee bit, and it's time to maybe replace him. So I would have took Taverner, who's younger, fitter. Maybe not got the experience that Lustig's got, but when somebody's going that way and coming towards the end, and somebody's coming up the way, I think you always give the young one the chance. And Taverner's never let them down. Rangers I'm talking about, and he scores goals, so he's not asked to defend that often. So
I think it's going to be interesting as well to see how certain players develop, because I think there's good players that have been at Rangers that have not been given the kind of guidance, support, encouragement, and a good example of it is Ryan Jack. Ryan Jack, I always thought, was played out of position a wee bit when he played with Rangers under Murty. I didn't think he wasn't given the opportunity to do what he does best, and that's to be hard, win those second balls, take them forward. You've heard what Steven Gerrard's been saying about Ryan Jack.
Ryan Jack must be absolutely over the moon.
Oh, he'd be like a dog with two doodads.
No, Graham Murty, Pedro Caixinha, or whoever it is, whoever the previous managers were, never ever did what Steven Gerrard done. That boy comes off the park and Gerrard cuddles him and embraces him, knowing you've done it for me, you're in my team. That boy must feel 10 feet tall. Nobody at Rangers has ever said that to him, so that's why he might get the best out of him, and that boy maybe blossom.
And that's what I'm saying. It'll be interesting to see how much there is in Rangers players that we haven't seen under this new manager, and the way that he's drilling them, the way that he's psychologically lifting them, and things like that. Because there was a story going round, whether it's true or whether it's not true, but I heard it from a number of sources, and when I hear stories that come from a number of people, I think there's a bigger element of truth in it than there isn't, if you know what I mean. And the story I heard about Caixinha was he only trained the 11 players that he was going to start with. The others were away training elsewhere on their own, at the Hummel Training Centre, or Auchenhowie as it was then. And for me, that starts a rift straight away. It fractures the squad, the first team squad, because he's just concentrating. You're the important guys, the rest of you...
Well, that happened before, did it no? Under Dick Advocaat.
Well, I don't know, because I didn't hear that story.
When the Dick Advocaat, the Dutch guys were all training themselves. They were all in their wee huddle, in their wee group, and the other ones were left to get on with.
Well, as I say, this was actually, you'll be selected by Caixinha to be training because you were the starting 11. And I don't like things like that. I really don't.
The only thing I would think about Steven Gerrard, and maybe if I've picked it up wrong, I apologise, but I thought I read somewhere that Steven Gerrard wanted to match Celtic's physicality, right? Now, I don't see Celtic being a physical team. I see Celtic pass, move, control, pass, move, and Celtic looked really, really sharp against Standard Liège, albeit last night that they came up short. But if Stevie G's saying that he's got to match their physicality, I don't see them being a physical team, Bill. I see Celtic being a passing team.
See, I can see what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. I think what he's talking about in terms of the physicality of Celtic is the strength in the way they run. Coming through from midfield, Rogic forging through, big guy forging through, McGregor runs with power and with with purpose, and I think that's what he means with physicality more than anything. I think he's looking for that power and purpose when you've got the ball and you run. I think he wants to see, because you look at Celtic in the midfield when it comes to tackling, they're not shrinking violets.
No, you're right there, but I wouldn't say that. I mean,
I'm not saying. Don't confuse physicality for lack of culture or anything like that. I don't think he means that. I think he means, rather than physicality, biff bang bosh, I think he means get in there with the same determination, the same, strength of kind of, determination. Go forward, carry the ball with that power, because you can see it now. They're starting to. You've said there's very, very much a similarity now in the way that Rangers play to the way that Celtic play.
Yes,
and he's identified that, and I think you would agree that because that similarity's there, he's not saying go and rough people up. He's saying go forward with a bit of grit and determination and power and be positive. I think that's what he means by that physicality.
It'll be interesting, the Old Firm game then, Bill, what we analyse after it about the two of them. And I still think it's a Liverpool thing that Brendan Rodgers... Gerrard must have seen something that Brendan Rodgers did in terms of how you train them, because... The Rangers team at Aberdeen on Sunday, for me, was the way Brendan Rodgers was having Celtic. The fitness levels, that you went for 90 minutes and you were shutting down in the opposite, in the third of the park. And Rangers did that for me, and I thought, for me, when I watched it, there were similarities the way Brendan Rodgers done it with Celtic when he came, on how he pushed people up the park. And Steven Gerrard's actually taken that on board. I believe that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk football just to finish things off for this Tuesday night.
love music, live sport. Talking football with Bill Young and Gerry Collins on RockSport Radio.
Okay, we're talking football for the next 7 minutes, and as it stands just now, nothing at the moment. 1-0 to
Rangers.
Oh, really? Who's the scorer?
No got it.
All right, we'll get that for you, but that's just come in. 1-0 to Rangers. So a great start. Couldn't get a better start than that for Steven Gerrard. What are we talking about? 8 minutes or something like that?
7 minutes.
7 minutes. Rangers lead Mulder. We've got that now, so that's okay. Well, that's some start, isn't it? What's your thoughts on that one, Gerry?
Unbelievable. That's the kind of
Is this the intensity thing again that we've been noticing?
Well, you read my mind there. I was going to say we're talking about how high up he presses the game. So for me, for 7 minutes, Morelos got
was it a header? No, his feet. Oh well,
must have hit half him. Yeah, he's probably playing a high pressure game, isn't he? We spoke about the physicality that Maribor might not like. So.
Do you think it is that? Do you think it is that? Do you think he's gone out and said, look, we've got 53,000 here, go out, get out the traps like a bat out of hell. It was a tap-in, apparently. Go out the traps like a bat out of hell and scare the hell out of these people.
Correct. I don't think they would know what happened, though. Okay, I know that the boy was saying they want to go and they're quite happy defending, but defending against a physical team that's going to batter you and put you under pressure, all sorts of pressure, 7 minutes, it's paid off.
What do you do if you're the Maribor manager now? Do you stick or twist? Because at the end of the day, if you want that away goal, then you've got to come out. There's no rush. It's early. You've still got 80 odd minutes or 80 minutes to get into the game.
But the old cliche is, Bill, if you're going to lose the goal in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You've got 80 minutes to recover.
That's absolutely right.
So you go and just play your normal game. If the second goal goes in, then you'd have to think, oh, wait a wee minute here. It might be that it's going to come to goal difference over 2 games. So
be interesting to see if he keeps that intensity up and
I think
really hammers them in terms of, and I don't mean hammers them in terms of winning 5-0 or that, but hammers them so that they're on the back foot the whole time to create those chances.
Well, I think
because it's a hell of a time to score, isn't it?
I mean,
7 minutes.
What a lift the whole place will get now, and he'll be encouraging them to do more. If you get the first in, get the second in, keep going. So.
It's an interesting one. I must admit, I did think that Rangers would win. I said to you in the office, I thought they'd win 2-0.
Well, I thought 1-0.
But I didn't think they'd score this early. I really didn't.
Great for them.
But it's obviously this intensity that we've been talking about that's the thing. However, you've still got all the work to do. As much as they've got 80 minutes to get back in the game, you've still got 80 minutes to defend that 1-goal lead or build on it. Well,
we're talking about the back four as a better back four than they've had in the last couple of years. Let's see how good they are, because by all accounts, Maribor's a back to front team, aren't they? Hit you on the counter. So if Rangers keep going gung-ho and Maribor hit them on the break, let's see how good the back four are.
The difficult thing with them now for Rangers, and I find this, and you know this, it's a real skill getting it right. It's just where you sit.
Correct.
If you go too deep, you're inviting them onto you. If you come too high, you're risking getting caught in it's finding that magic line where you think we're comfortable here.
Well, that's the one thing. As the Rangers back four, have they got pace?
I don't know, because I don't think Flanagan's as quick as John was, but I think he's a better defender.
Golston and Katic, have they got pace?
Golston and Katic, they seem to meet the ball fairly quickly when they're exposed. They can come out and they can meet the man and get to him quickly.
Because the secret is, if they both get pace, then you can play a high line because they've got a chance to recover. If they've not got genuine pace, then you would need to play deeper.
I'm not sure how much space they've got in terms of chasing, but they seem to go and meet a man quickly, which is not the same thing as the pace that you're talking about.
No, I'm saying if they've got good pace about them,
I don't know.
Then Rangers will play a high line.
I don't think that's actually been tested greatly thus far.
So we don't know. So if they've got good pace, they'll play a high line, which means that the game's compressed into the Maribor half. If they don't have good pace, they could play a longer game where spaces would open up for Maribor to counter-attack. So
Maribor, of course, now are going to sit back a wee bit to get their thoughts together again.
Yes.
Make sure they don't get stung with another second one quickly. So they've got to write off a degree of the game, haven't they, really?
Yes.
A certain part of the game where they kind of catch their breath again.
As I say, Bill, listen, if Maribor go and if they've went there with the sole intention of getting beat 1-0, then they'll achieve that. If that's what they're happy with and defending and try to hit on the break, if Rangers are intensity carries them in there all the time, they will get the second goal. Because I don't believe Maribor have got that. That's why I asked Nathan about defenders. Are they internationalist defenders?
Yeah.
If they're not, then the likelihood is they'll concede a second goal.
Apparently it was a tap into an empty net, so I don't know what happened in terms of where the goalie was. And
well, you've got to be
what's
there.
the goalie doing?
What's the goalie doing? Well, Tam will tell you what's the goalie doing.
Aye, well, he'll tell us at the end of the game. But there you go. If you're a Rangers fan, you might be listening to us and watching the game anyway, so you'll know that it's 1-0, because I doubt that many Rangers fans are listening to us tonight at this point when the game's on TV for Rangers TV. So anyway, but if you are listening, 1-0 to Rangers. Alfredo Morelos is the scorer, a tap in into an empty net, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting night. Nothing yet from Easter Road, so it's still all square there. That's Gerry. Thanks again for coming in. We'll see you next Tuesday. Tomorrow night, we're back with Hegarty and Burns, God help me. Next up, pole position.
Love music, live sport, talking football with Bill Young and Gerry Collins on RockSport Radio.